Hey there, I'm Shug, and today we're going to unlock the mysteries of the Underquilt Protector. Is it necessary? It is for some, it's not for others. Is it for me? I use it here and there. It doesn't always go in my pack, but there's a purpose for it with me. Underquilt Protector! I actually wanted it there. Do you need an underquilt protector? Not really. That question comes up a good bit on hammock forums, and I get asked that on YouTube sometime. Do I need one? You don't necessarily need one. If you carry a larger tarp, like a Warbonnet Superfly or even bigger, chances are you'll have enough protection from the wind. And the wind is mainly why I carry one. If I'm looking at the weather, like say I'm going to the Linville Gorge or the Hickory or something, I know it's going to be really windy, it's going to be cool fall weather, but I want to carry a little bit of a smaller tarp, yet still have some protection from the wind on those nights. But I want to wake up in the morning and get that view, and I want to see out there. Then I will toss in my underquilt protector. But I'd say probably 80% of my trips or more, I don't even carry it. So it's weather dependent for me. We're looking at a smaller tarp here. This is the Warbonnet Mini Fly. That is my underquilt. Think of that as the bottom half of a sleeping bag that hangs underneath my hammock to keep me warm from beneath. And this one just happens to be a partial because it partially covers the hammock. A full length would come on down this far. I've actually had this underquilt protector for probably 10 or 11 years. I got it from 2Q ZQ, and it's really a durable water resistant, a DWR ripstop material. It's breathable, and what it is it's just a piece of fabric cut in the shape of a hammock, basically, and it just hangs underneath. Now, one reason I like using them is because I prefer a tarp with a smaller footprint. Why? Because when I got into hammocks, I really like seeing the woods. So even on a stormy night, if I pitch this one down, which I'll do in a minute, you'll see that I'm probably going to be hanging a little bit below the bottom edge of the tarp. So that wind can still get me. And particularly in a tarp like this, the Warbonnet Mini Fly, it does not have doors. It just has a couple little beaks at the end. And my DIY Black Crow tarp, I can close off the end, but because it's got a footprint like this tarp, the wind can get to me. Now, some people say, Shug, why would you want to do that? My personal choice. I like seeing the woods. Other people like their tarps really big coming down to the ground. They feel a lot more secure, they feel a lot more private, and having all that coverage. Now, I'll do that in certain weather. I'll bring like my Warbonnet Superfly or a larger tarp. But for the most part, even in winter, I go oftentimes with a smaller tarp. And the underquilt protector is great in the winter as well, because when you're cold camping, it adds just a few degrees. It holds in just a little more heat. And one other thing it'll do is, let's say, like this is a 20-degree underquilt. Let's say I was going to go, it's going to be 15, maybe 10 degrees, and this is all I got. Well, an underquilt protector hung around there will kind of hold in a little bit more heat for you. It will certainly help and keep the wind from taking that heat away. There it is, just hanging to the side of my hammock, and you can see it almost just looks like a hammock. But if you come a little closer, one thing you'll see right here, it has right here these little cinch locks, so I can undo these and tighten these to sort of bring it up on myself a little bit. They're very handy. I would never have one without these now. So let's go ahead and just hook it on around the hammock. So there we go with it hanging on there. They are meant to hang fairly loosely. It's okay if it's sagging down a little bit under your underquilt, because that just actually catches a little bit more warm air. The thing is, different conditions are going to call for different things with this. The last trip I was on, I used it up in the Boundary Waters this past summer. I think it was actually my last trip. I really pulled those cinches in to bring it up really high, and it was so windy that it was wanting to blow it out from underneath me. So I had it really cinched up. I might even had it tied over my ridgeline just to keep it in place. Weather's never the same, but in general, just let it hang beneath you like that, and you're going to be good to go. You can see it's just kind of hanging there. Get my quilt under me, just kind of hanging underneath me, and you can cinch it pretty hard. And so let's say the wind, you're sleeping and the wind is coming from where you are, I can kind of pull that thing up a little bit. Give me that little bit of protection. The other nice thing it does is if you're having trouble fitting your underquilt and you feel like you have a gap somewhere, having an underquilt protector will help in sealing that gap. Now, I'm not giving you any guarantees here, but if you felt like somewhere you're always getting a little wind in, put one of these on, that's going to help it. Now, a lot of people get these because they think ahead of time that it's going to help them with rain splash, water splashing up and getting your underquilt wet. I'm going to tell you, in all my years of backpacking, I think there's only been one trip when I got a little bit of splash on my underquilt, and it was because of where I was pitched. It was really hard ground, and I had my tarp pitched down really steep, very steep. Think about an umbrella, and you don't have it popped all the way open. You have it kind of pulled in. You know, you're closer to the water. I like when it rains a little bit to actually have my tarp a little bit wider, because I have a wider cover over me, so the rain would be hitting out here. But you know, if that's a concern of yours, an underquilt protector will certainly help with thoughts of, you know, rain splashing up on it. Now I got the tarp pitched down a bit lower, which with this particular hang, still having a little bit of room on the inside. How do I look? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and crawl on in there. I may not return. I may get so comfortable that I'm just gonna let this camera run and you can just look at me dangle. You can look at me dangle. So I feel like I'm hanging down a little bit, and just if it's a really windy night, that wind whipping under here, depending on how you set your tarp. Now my pitch in windy or bad weather with my underquilt protector would be a little bit more like what you're looking at here. I got my hiking pole there to kind of secure it, which almost acts like, you know, it helps to keep the wind from blowing that in against me. I still have all my view. I'm protected from the rain. More importantly, when I open my eyes in the morning, I get a little bit more of a view, and that's what I want. So I'll crawl in again and we'll look at the dangle. Ding dangly do, partner! Now it's easy to see that I am dangling down well below my tarp here. And this is what I do most of the time, but that's just me. Since I've got my 4-bonnet Eldorado here on a really windy night, I can zip my bug net closed, and that helps keep some of the wind off of me. That's just the way I do it. And also, if it's raining, my tarp is a little bit more out. So even if the rain is coming down pretty sideways, I feel a bit protected. This would certainly help, but sideways rain and the tarp life, well, you're just gonna have to learn to tolerate. It's a different thing when you're under a tarp than a tent.
You have come to see me.
So I'll put the link for this particular one in the description box below this video. There's a couple of people that sell the underquilt protector. Also, it's a really nice first project. If you're going to do a sewing project, there's not a lot to it. Even putting this shock cord along the edges, not a real big deal. You could even make one without that, but I'm going to put a link to a video below that shows you how to make one. Woo, buddy! I'll secure in Sector 7.